Hi and welcome to the Malat Cookery channel from our brand new base, this purpose-built log cabin manufactured by a company called Tuin, T-U-I-N. Now I'm going to give those guys a little bit of a plug. I've got no affiliation to Tuin whatsoever. I'm not getting any money for this. However, credit where credit is due. I am so pleased with this log cabin, with the quality of the manufacturer, but most of all, the after sales service that I've received from Tuin. I've never built anything like this before. I must have had a million questions to ask them and they answered every single one of them. So thanks very much, Tuin. Great build, great quality product. I'll put a link to Tuin's website in the description. So let's get to the most important part, which is the recipe that we're going to do today. So the first recipe I thought we were tackling our brand new base is actually to go back and revisit one of the older recipes, which is a doner kebab seasoning. So when we did that video on the YouTube channel, a lot of YouTubers came together and we had a lot of comments in the comment section on how to subtly improve both the recipe and the cooking process. So we've taken all of those comments together, and that's really what this video is all about. This video is an improved recipe and cooking process from that first doner kebab video. So a big thank you to all the YouTubers that contributed. This video wouldn't be possible without you guys. From the Malat range, we're going to be using the doner kebab seasoning. And as usual, a full list of ingredients will be given at the end of the video. So let's have a look at those ingredients and any other equipment we're going to need for today. So the ingredients for today's recipe couldn't be any easier. In the bowl, I've got 500 grams of lamb mince and 500 grams of beef mince. If you want to be more of a traditionalist, you can have just pure lamb mince in there, a kilo of lamb mince. The reason I have a combination of the two is I like the texture, the taste, but also it's more cost effective because obviously beef mince is a lot cheaper than lamb. I've got 38 grams of the Malat doner kebab seasoning. Got one medium egg, free range egg which has been beaten, and I've got 1 teaspoon, about 7 grams of salt. The other things that you'll need is you'll need some foil to cook with, and very importantly, you'll need a food processor. If you don't use a food processor, you're not going to get the tight texture that you're familiar with doner kebab meat. So the first thing we need to do is actually combine all of the ingredients in the bowl. This is a bit messy, so I'm going to be using some disposable gloves. So in goes the egg. Salt. And the Malat doner kebab seasoning. And then just try and combine all of the ingredients as much as you possibly can. Okay, so that's all of the ingredients combined. So the next thing we want to do is actually put the meat through the food processor in batches. So I'm going to actually do this in 2 batches. And what we're looking for is, as we start the food processor off, the meat will stay in a ball in the center and go around the blade. We want to wait until the actual meat comes to the outside of the bowl itself and sticks to the outside. That's when you know that it's fully processed. Now that may take a couple of minutes and you may have to vary the speed of the food processor, but once that's done, you know that it's processed, and then we'll move on to actually putting the second batch through the food processor itself. So that's taken at least 2 minutes to actually get to that stage, so be patient with it. The minute the meat mixture starts to go to the outside of the bowl, that's when you know that it's processed. So once the doner kebab meat mixture has been in the processor, the food processor, the next stage is to actually shape the meat and then get it into the oven. So I've got 2 pieces of foil here. Put this one to one side. This piece has just been lightly oiled with a little bit of olive oil. This is what the meat is going to sit on. And what we're going to do now is we're going to get the meat mixture and actually create a cylindrical shape. So we just need to compact all this together. Just work it into your hands. First of all into a ball. Try and squeeze as much air out as possible that may be trapped between the layers. And then slowly start to work that into that cylindrical shape. Okay, so once you've got the basic shape, place it onto the foil and just do some final adjustments. Okay, I'm just going to wash my hands and then we'll come back and I'll show you how to actually package this meat parcel up. Okay, so now your hands are clean. The next thing to do is we want to actually package the meat up. So we take one part of the foil over the top, bring the other side in, and then almost like a Christmas cracker, twist one end and the other. So we've got a parcel like that, and then we bring the second piece of foil in, place this into the centre, bring each side of the foil up and just fold over the end, and then just keep folding down and create a really tight package. So what that second piece of foil has done is it's created some compression around the actual parcel itself, and then just tidy the ends up. So that's our doner kebab meat package ready to go into the oven, and we just need to place that onto an oven tray. Now what I've actually done is I've made 2. The reason I've made 2 is one of them is going to go into the oven 180 degrees centigrade, preheated oven, 180 degrees centigrade for an hour, and that'll be fully cooked. The second one I'm going to take out after 20 minutes because what I'm going to do is just do a little bit of an experiment and try and get this to work on a horizontal rotisserie on the barbecue. And I think if we cook one of them for 20 minutes, so it just starts to cook on the outside, that will hold the meat package together enough for it to be able to work on a horizontal rotisserie. Let's see how we go. So this is the part of the video where we're going to experiment with the doner kebab meat and try and get it onto a horizontal rotisserie. So I mentioned before that we're going to cook it for 20 minutes in the oven and then see how we go. I had a look at it after 20 minutes. I really wasn't confident, so I've placed it back into the oven for another 10. So this particular meat has been cooking now for 30 minutes. Let's see if we can get it onto a horizontal rotisserie and for it to actually stay in shape. But it's still quite hot. So we open it up. And I'm going to attempt to try and get the rotisserie through the centre. Okay, so that's the first part done. Still quite fragile, but it looks like it's holding its shape for now. Place the second bit on. Engage those spikes. Right, I'm now going to take this outside onto the barbecue and let's see if we can turn it horizontally and for it to actually stay in shape. So this is the second part of the doner kebab meat experiment on the horizontal rotisserie. I did promise a warts and all kind of video, and I would definitely have published this video if the doner kebab meat was falling apart. The great news is it isn't falling apart, so that 30 minutes of pre-cooking in the oven is what's needed. This rotisserie obviously isn't ideal. I think these blades are more for large chickens than something like this, but with smaller blades on the rotisserie it will definitely work. The meat has kept its shape fairly well, it's browning nicely, and the smell of the meat is absolutely fantastic. So it's a success, I think. So this is the doner kebab meat that's been in the oven for an hour. It's fully cooked. We've done the experiment with the horizontal rotisserie. That seems to have worked. So we're back to what we're really here to show, which is this one. I've let it rest for about 5 minutes before we slice it. Now if you watch the first video, the first doner kebab video, you'll see that the way I sliced it there was to take a skewer, place the meat on its end, put the skewer through the meat so we can hold it, and then we slice the meat with an electric knife, which is fine. You could use a very sharp knife if you have one. You don't want to use an electric knife. But if you're looking to get the slices of doner meat the same as the takeaways, then you're going to have to use another method, because I don't care how good your knife skills are, you're not going to get every single slice of that doner meat exactly the same, because of course in a takeaway they use an electric knife which gives them the same thickness of meat slice every single time. So what we're going to use as an alternative is just a basic meat slicer, an electric meat slicer. This one was 20 quid from Aldi's. They're not expensive. I do use it every now and again, mainly if we're cooking things like a ham roast and we want the ham roast sliced for sandwiches for the kids for school, that type of thing. So it does come out on occasion. So I'll have a look to see whether this is a good alternative to actually having to buy one of those electric doner kebab knives, which I think are about £150 each. So what we want to do is obviously unpack the doner meat. Okay, before I do that, I just want to show off my new knife set, which was purchased for me by the staff at Prometheus Medical. So I worked for Prometheus Medical for 5.5 years. I've recently left in order to help my wife get back on her feet after a serious accident. The staff, absolutely fantastic. The company's absolutely amazing. The staff all put together got me numerous things, but these are definitely a pride of place. Some Wusthof knives. And thanks Gemma for sorting those out. Right, so with the doner kebab meat, what we need to do is, if we're going to use a meat slicer, what I want to do is I want to actually cut it in half first. And any excuse to use these knives. So if we just slice it down the middle. Okay, and that's it, it's perfectly cooked all the way through. Just move this to one side. And what I'm going to do here is we're going to slice all of the meat using the meat slicer. I'm then going to place it onto this oven tray, and I'm going to stick it under the grill for about a minute just so that all the meat browns. And again, that'll simulate the same as you get with the takeaways, where it's on that vertical rotisserie and it's browning all the time. So we take one portion of meat. Right, so let me just turn that off for a minute and just show you what we've actually got here. So this is the donna meat. There's a lot of elasticity within that. Very similar to get in the takeaways. It tastes absolutely gorgeous. Well, it tastes just like donna meat, which is exactly what it is. It's moist, it's the same texture, it's absolutely perfect. So again, what I'll start to do is just lay this out onto the tray and then under the grill for a minute. So that's all of the donna meat sliced. As you can see, you get quite a lot of it from a kilo of meat. I'm just going to place this under the grill now for about a minute just to brown off, and then it's ready to serve. So that's it. Donna kebab meat done in the comfort of your own home or log cabin if you've got one. So let's just run through some of the things that could potentially go wrong. So one is that when you're using mince, make sure it's a high fat content mince. So you're looking at about 20%. Whether that's beef or lamb or a combination of the two. If you insist on using lean mince, then add an extra egg to the recipe. So the recipe calls for 1 egg. If you're going to use a mince with maybe 2 or 5% fat content, add the extra egg. It will make a huge difference to the moisture and elasticity of the cooked meat. When you're actually cooking the meat, make sure that parcel that you create is nice and compact and there's some compression on the meat so that it doesn't open up and split apart. We've worked out that we can do it on a horizontal rotisserie, which is great, but remember to pre-cook the meat for about half an hour. And then finally, when you're carving the meat, use an electric knife. If you're going to use a standard knife, then make sure it's razor sharp. If you use a blunt knife, what will happen is it will actually tear through the meat, and you won't get that smooth elasticity kind of finish to the finished slices of the meat. It'll kind of tear apart. I hope you've enjoyed the video. If so, please hit the like button and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Thanks very much for watching.